Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Golf. You need a roof, make sure you call Ireland Contracting. 1-800-NEW Roofs are the best in the business. They do gutters, they do siding, they do windows, they do everything. You name it, you call Ireland Contracting at 1-800-NEW Roof. Give us a call right now on the Bordas and Bordas hotline, 412-575-2600. We're talking about the Buccos and what they should do with Austin Meadows potentially tomorrow. Starling Marte is coming back up, and you know I agree with Paul. I think it should be Frazier or Osuna, depending on. It's got to be one of those two guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically, Meadows has to stay right now, and you ride the hot path.
And you got, like I said, you got a lot of lefties in your lineup, and you got a lot of left-handers. So I probably would keep Osuna here, but I would understand why they would send him instead of Frazier. Be interesting though if they sent Meadows.
Oh my God!
I don't know if you're doing this show tomorrow night and they send Meadows and Polanco goes like 0-5 and they lose 0 for 5 and they lose to the Cardinals. Your phone lines will be that box will blow up from the phone lines.
All right, let's go out to Clint in Altoona. How you doing, Clint?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Hey, yeah, I want to ask a question. You guys were talking about moving guys up, down, and who's on the move and not. I want to ask you if it's inevitable that Jung-Ho Kang comes back, what's going to happen there?
Well, you know, that's another good question, but I don't think that we have to answer that question for a couple months yet, Paul. If this year, and at that point, I guess you'd cross that bridge when you come to it, but that would have to be a Frazier or releasing Freeze kind of move right there.
Yeah.
With Jung-Ho Kang. And maybe they make that deal at the trade deadline where they can dump a Freeze or dump someone to bring Osuna up.
Or maybe they dump.
I mean, not Osuna.
Maybe they dump Kang.
Or they do that.
I mean, here's my thing. You just talked about the young guys in the clubhouse. Do you want to bring a guy like Kang in?
You make a good point, but why did they keep him around? Why did they just continue to?
Because they paid him.
They paid him, but he could have been on the suspended list and restricted, and they're not paying him now. They could have just said, we don't want to have anything to do with him. Right,
but they would still have to pay him. They're still on the hook for eventually. Once he's off the suspended list, they're still on the hook for the salary. So I think what they're doing is they're getting him back, getting him down there, getting him a bunch of at-bats. Hopefully people see him. He hits a few home runs, and they can find someone to give him something for him. And it doesn't have to be anything great.
Yeah, I mean,
but I can't imagine they're going to bring him into this clubhouse with his young guys. You know, I'm not saying he's a bad influence, but do you really want him in your clubhouse? This is what you have to ask yourself.
Well, there's still a lot of these guys that were on the team then when he was here. I mean, Jordy Mercer was here. Cervelli was here.
But we just got done talking about
I understand
a
that.
bunch of
totally
young guys
yes,
on this team. Look at the pitching
that.
staff. I mean, out of the 12 guys on the pitching staff, like 10 of them are young guys.
Yeah, and none of the starters, I think, were here when Kang was here.
I mean, either way. I mean,
Trevor Williams was up here.
Tyon, Nova. I mean, I'm just saying, you got a lot of young guys on this team. Nova's not young, obviously, but you know what I mean.
All right, JR, what's up, JR? What's going on?
What I'm calling about is Seattle has some trouble in the infield, and I wondered maybe to leave Pittsburgh situation, if they could maybe trade Freeze to Seattle and get something back for him to help the team.
You know what? Thanks a lot for your call. I just don't know what they could get for Freeze. You know, that's the thing. I mean, I don't think you would get anything for him.
Not much. I mean, the thing is, if you're trading Freeze, you're basically just dumping him.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll get, maybe like a double-A pitcher or a double-A
maybe if
hitter
you're lucky. I mean,
something like that, but you're not going to get much for him.
All right, back out to the phone lines. We're going to go out to Jay out in East McKeesport. How you doing, Jay?
Okay, Rich. How you guys doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Sure. I think that if I was the GM, I think I would send Polanco down because he's not hitting well, obviously, and his fielding isn't the greatest either. Maybe send him down for a couple of weeks and get him right. Until then, I would keep Meadows and all the other guys.
All right, Jay, I appreciate your call. But what would that do, Paul, to his fragile ego as it is, I think, right now, and his confidence if you send Polanco down? I mean, I think you're better off. Your first step is sitting the guy before setting him down.
Again, I don't think you got to send him down.
I don't think so either.
You sit him. And here's the other thing. If you really want to send a message to him, even if you decide to send Meadows down, right? Play Meadows in right field in Indianapolis. That's a really loud and clear to Polanco. He better get it in gear or we're bringing this guy back up and he's taking your spot.
Yeah, but going with what we originally said, I think the Pirates would get – that would be a huge – another bad PR move.
It would be
if they send Meadows back down to the minors.
It would be, but again, I think that the thing you've got to remember is that maybe they don't want to just put the kid in right. He hasn't played right.
But I would imagine he's a better outfielder. He did play some right in Indianapolis.
But I'm just saying.
But he's a better outfielder than
anybody is.
Yeah, you are.
I'm just saying, maybe you put him in right, it throws off his equilibrium a little bit. Who knows?
You could be right. But let's go out to Rick and Elizabeth. How you doing, Rick?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking the call. Paul, wanted to touch base with you, see what your thoughts were initially in the beginning stages here on Jeff Capel at Pitt and his ability to recruit. And with his 2 scholarships that he has left, I believe, is there anything on the horizon to the likes of more like an aircraft carrier to go along with these guards that he's brought in? I'll hang up and listen.
Well, there's
Thank
a couple
you
of
very much.
they have looked at a couple of post players. What I like about Jeff Capel is one, he's obviously there's a lot of excitement back around Pitt basketball, even though people that 0-18 or 0-19
People forgot about it.
People have already forgotten about it. So that's number one. I think he's done a pretty good job of getting the players that he's gotten to commit to Pitt. He did obviously lose Marcus Carr and Parker Stewart, but for the most part, he got a lot of the other guys to come back. The big thing with him is, and it's what I like, is he said, he's not going to do what Stallings did. He's got 2 scholarships, but if he doesn't have 2 guys that are good enough to play at Pitt and help them win, he's not just going to fill it with bodies.
I like that.
I like it. He could save him for next year. I mean, there's no expectations for him this year.
Yeah.
So I mean, Stallings knew he had to win this year. In order to have a chance to stay, he knew he had to win. So he went out and just basically got 12 new guys and hoped that 7 of them were able to be a functional team. Jeff Capel has no pressure at all. So if he wants to delay using these 2 scholarships till next year, he can.
And potentially he could move some of the guys that are already on scholarship.
Right.
If they don't fit in next year and they find other guys. The one thing I do like about this guy, he can really recruit. When you're looking at he's in, I don't know if he's in the mix on these guys, but he's at least trying to go after top 40, 50, and he's talking to top 10 guys too.
He's putting Pitt's name in the. When we talked about this when he got hired, he's got Pitt in the living rooms of players they would never have gotten into, even the last 2 guys.
You think that's because of Duke? Because he was already in those living rooms?
Yes, of course.
Or because of what he did at Oklahoma?
But no. Because that's where it started. But my point is, that's people know him. He's well known. He's a guy who played at Duke.
Yeah.
Was Coach K's right-hand man for 7 or 8 years. So he's been in a lot of living rooms. Dealt with a lot of AAU coaches and a lot of high school coaches that have great big-time players. So he picks up the phone. They're going to answer it. Whereas Stallings picks up the phone, yeah, we'll get back to you. You know what I mean? So he can get places where other coaches would not have been able to get, which is why it was a good hire. Look, in the ACC, you got to be a good coach. But any coach can go out and hire an X and O's guy, to scheme. You need players in the ACC, and that's why they got Jeff Capel, because that's what he's good at doing, going out and get players.
You know what I find pretty funny is the people that would call in here last year when Stallings was here, and they would say, Pitt can never compete, they'll never be good, they can't get any players, it's a bad basketball
Well, they were
school.
already good.
But look at it now, though. I mean, this potentially could get back to where it was before. I mean, I still think this is a basketball destination.
What I'm saying to you is they were already good. So what they went 14 years out of what? Was it 13 out of 12 out of 14 or 13 out of 15 years they were in the NCAA tournament? They were a #1 seed a couple of times. They were the ball bouncing around the rim by Scotty Reynolds away from maybe being in the Final Four. They were, they won the Big East. They won the Big East tournament. I mean, they were a really, really good program. So they've already done that. They've already proven they can do that. And they did. And it wasn't like they did it for a 3-year stretch either. They did it from 2002-03 to like 2013-14. That's a long time to be at the top, or fighting to be at the top. So yeah, I mean they can do it. He's got to just he's got to rebuild.
But the people that saying they can't do it in the ACC, I totally disagree with.
Right. I mean, again, it's about getting players. If they get players, they'll be fine.
All right, we're going to take a break. Back to answer more phone calls. Some tweets coming up next. Stay right there.